in need of men who will be men today.
All right, we're just getting acquainted then.
Right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Formula. This is our first show under our new name, and we are so excited to start it off with Pop the Brown Hornet.
Yes.
AKA the Brown Bomber.
Yes, it's a combination of both. But yes, thanks for having me on the show. Pop the Brown Hornet from out of Stapleton, Staten Island. Bumble fire.
Hey. Yeah, I'm Tiptoe, as you guys know, SP, and there's the legend we talking to, Pop the Brown Hornet.
What's going
Already.
on?
All right.
Already.
So go ahead, SP. You go ahead.
So everybody knows that you are a Staten Island staple, 25 years in the game.
Right. So
Can you just give the audience who are just being introduced to you some background on how you started and what brought you into hip hop?
Okay, so yeah, I'm Pop the Brown Hornet, like I said, from out of Stapleton, Staten Island, and I've been doing this hip hop thing for over 25 years on wax. Like she just stated, one of my first singles that I came out was "Can You Woo Woo Woo." But before that, before any of us was really on wax and the Force MDs was doing our thing, there was a lot of MCs that was up and coming in the 80s, and as we were just earning our stripes, whether it be at Park Villa, whether it be at the Wave, at the Cave, Pop the Brown Hornet was there. Pop the Brown Hornet was grabbing the mic. Pop the Brown Hornet was earning his stripes with the best of them. Our hometown legend and hero, RNS, who produced the likes of myself, King Just, Shaheem, GPWU, and numerous others, DSA, some of Prince Rakim, Wu-Tang, and so forth and so on. I had the pleasure, did I say the UMCs? But yeah, I had the pleasure of getting my craft up at his house at an early age. He had the equipment, so I was able to make demos. And when we had the 4-track, 8-track, it went straight to the streets. It went straight to the Cunyon. So back before all of us really got signed in the 90s, in the late 80s, leading into the 90s with R&S, I had street hits that, that people know me for before anybody came out, whether it be the UMCs, the Wu-Tang, Shaheem, King Just, and so forth and so on. Being like I said, I got my style and everything, doing my homework in Stapleton, the Temple, and being able to go up at RNS's house. And like RNS practicing with me, it helped him when he was able to work with the Shaheems, the King Justice, the UMCs, and so forth and so on. So those are the early days.
So let me ask you, since you come from real early in the game, right?
Of Staten Island? Yes, in Staten Island, yes.
Staten Island. I mean, just early in the game, it's pretty early. Like Force MDs was 80s, right? Okay, so who were your inspirations? Like who got you to want to get in the game? Like,
well, definitely, I have to say, even leading off with the Force MDs, as corny as it may sound, I was like, when we used to get on the ferry with my moms or whomever, my uncle, aunt, and then the Force MDs would rock up on the second level. They'd be near the swinging doors of the ferry boat. They'd have the breeze coming through, and they'd be in their routine. And I seen that at an early age, so being 9, 10, and then as I've gotten to my teenage years, seeing them get on. Seeing them come through with the fur coat. Now we talking about the Parks, and they was doing their routines, and we are the Force MDs, and my name is Stevie D. Like witnessing that, seeing that, being an MC, I know that, the Force MDs is like the most talented group to ever come from out of Staten Island. Natural talent, singing,
Right.
dance
I agree
routines.
with you on that.
So therefore they set a high standard. They set the bar very high for any act to follow, be it the W, be it myself, be it the King Justice, anything. But one thing they did, like I said, set a standard to whereas as we were begging to be heard and dying to be heard because all the other boroughs at that particular time were being showcased with talent. We weren't. So when we had to bust through and the UMCs was more or less the first one to come through and they were criticized for being happy rap. And Staten Island wasn't really known for any gangsterism or any tough guy, it was very unknown at the time. So by the time the W came through and we all represented and the W, like when Wu-Tang came through, you gotta understand it was more than just a clan, it was a movement. So when you
Right.
had the whole Staten Island moving, 100 deep, sometimes it was even, we'd be on the ferry with other neighborhoods that we didn't get along with. But in order to have that Wu movement come through, because us at the time being youngsters, we figured we support you and help propel y'all, and y'all in return would turn around and help put our city on. But it didn't.
Right.
It didn't manifest that way.
I mean, like LL had like what I call chick songs, like I Need Love. Force MDs had that too, like Walking on Air and stuff like that. Man, I was a huge fan of the Force MDs. Like, I'm not even kidding. I remember I got that cassette. I went to my cousin's, walked, and we used to smoke. I don't smoke weed no more, but I used to smoke it a lot when I was a kid. And I was like, bro, I got this dough, this fresh was the word, fresh seed, this fresh cassette. Watch, we're going to bump it. We're going to listen to it. And we just sat there and smoked and listened to the cassettes. Like, man, good time.
So,
Staten Island got a lot of talent.
So let me ask you, when you talk about because I think there's a lot of people who have that we're coming in as a force and we have this mind process of building each other up and we get you on and then you bring the rest of the family forward.
Right.
When that didn't manifest as the city as the borough felt like it should, how did that affect the area?
It affected it in a lot of ways because you got to figure Wu-Tang is only from one geographic part of Staten Island, which happened to be the 10304, which that's our brothers. Which I'm from Stapleton, Park Hill. We both share the 10304 zip code, so we're only like a 5-minute walk away from each other. So, like I said, back in the days when it really first began, Stapleton, the seed was planted in Stapleton. There was a lot of people that was from Park Hill that was anti-Wu at the time. Predating before the Klan. They had their own crews that they were down with at that time. So Wu-Tang was kind of like, gimmicky, we ain't down with that BS. But then when the RZA more or less came to Stapleton and he became the common denominator between Stapleton and Park Hill, he really tried to join us together. So that's when I knew Wu-Tang was taking on a different form because for me, Wu-Tang stands for We United to Achieve New Goals because Stapleton and Park Hill at that time, we used to beef with each other like crazy. I couldn't go to 160 without being, something on me because you go to 160, it was a danger zone just to get a bag of weed. So, when Method Man goes from the 16, yo, check out, there was the dreads that sold butt in there, you know what I mean? So we couldn't go up there and, and there was other things, whether it be the girls, just friendly competition. It was deadly competition, because we grew up in the crack era. It was rough. So when the Prince Rakeem said he went through and he changed his name, became the RZA, and he snatched up Method Man and told him, yo, just give me a shot. Give me a year, 1 year. If I don't change your life, boom, boom. All those stories probably are true, because at that time it was rough. So like I said, we as a borough, especially Stapleton, because we birthed Wu-Tang. We birthed that whole movement. So
Right.
we was definitely on the front line of it. And then New Brighton, West Brighton, Manus Harbor, they had their pockets of individuals that helped rep, so that when we came through repping for Wu-Tang, yeah, we had a nice arsenal of people. Staten Island was coming through looking differently because we felt like this was a voice to help propel us through. And like I said, from myself, the King Justice, I mean, think about it. You know, there was never a Staten Island tour where Wu-Tang would have headlined it. Shaheem, King Just, Papa Brown Hornet. So we had the talent, we had the and a gang of other individuals that was ready to come through. I mean, that was part of GPWU, Rubber Bands Down Low. So then we had DSA. So it wasn't like we didn't have an arsenal to follow up the Wu, but the Wu had to make it seem like they kind of muffled Staten Island because they had to seem bigger than life. And at that time, back in the '90s and things of that nature, record labels would buy, they buy radio time, they buy so all of that went to the radio, and it gave room for them to say, you know what, if it ain't coming from out of our camp, don't play it, don't support it, and don't rock with it. So we have instead of something that could have been astronomically bigger with the movement, it was more or less, they took it to themselves and got selfish with it.
Instead of just bringing, like, shouting out all the everyone, like, hey, check out so and so from, blah blah blah. They
I
okay.
mean, you can say, check out. I mean, but hypothetically, when up from the 36 chambers,
Yeah.
you said my name. So you said
Right.
my name for a reason. I'm not on any tracks, but you said my name for a reason. So the fan has to ask himself, damn, why did he say his name? The reason why he said my name, because in the movement of Wu-Tang, I exist due to the fact that I didn't confine to your contract doesn't eliminate the fact that I was part of the movement that predates the Wu-Tang Clan, because the Clan is nothing but an alliance that RZA put together, and some brothers were left out because contractually, the politics of it. RZA told me on a conversation on the phone, that I would only receive 5% of my publishing. At the time, I had like 50 songs that I did with R&S that were street hits. So if I signed to you, I'm giving you the rights to my catalog. I didn't feel like he at that time, and I still to this day wouldn't like say, yo, here's my, I'd rather do it my way. And that's where I've been. So I was really been exiled out of any Wu-Tang functions and situations. So I've had to do this on my own.
5% isn't anything really. Like, they were gonna keep 95% of your
Well, you got to figure when you do a song, it's broken down 50-50. You know what I mean?
right,
So you have 50 to the production, 50 to the publishing. So now if you have the Wu-Tang Clan who has like 9, 10 members, and then,
right.
everybody joins in and says, you know what, I'm only going to give 5%. You know what I mean? We go, oh, we join in 5. But then you got to remember, RZA did the production. So he gets
So he
50%
gets
production. His
yeah,
hands is in the cookie jar twice. So I'm like, yo, I mean, there should be so. I mean, listen, if it's all for one for all, you know what I mean? I
I'm
just
down.
felt like they should have been moving at a different temperament. I mean, I could have been featured for 25 years. They had the Wu-Tang Clan. They had solo albums. I mean, they've exiled me out of their whole existence of the Wu-Tang. So, I mean, I don't desire to be down with it, but I do desire to have my own platform and be
Right.
disrespected for my own artistry and not be connected with a regime that for 25 years has never shed light on anybody else from out of Staten Island but themselves.
I feel that. I get that. Like, yeah.
Do
It's
you
actually smart business on your part.
So when we go back to can you woo woo woo, or is
Right.
it just a front? GP
Right.
the Green's here to give you what you want, baby boy, bow down. Listen to the sound of the dirty hip hopped up from deep underground.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. I
already?
know that track. Let me
Let
let me get. I'm gonna just close my door because my
let me
phone's going
ask you
crazy.
this: uh, having that happen, um, do you think that that was just standard back then, that they seen how the industry was moving and thought they should move in that same direction? Or do you feel like me, there's a certain amount of loyalty that you learn, and you feel that as as somebody who was there in the beginning, and as a borough, y'all work together to push everybody forward, that it should have been a certain amount of loyalty to the borough itself?
That's a great question. And
Yeah.
yeah, to the borough, you want to be able to put on for your borough. But what happened, like I said, it's like a kid that never had a toy. Once the
Mhm,
Wu-Tang Clan was able to grab that success, instead of really turning around, or maybe they had to put on the persona, like we're the greatest act coming from out of Staten Island, and there's not going to be anything better. So it's best for them to maybe burn all the bridges instead of letting brothers come across it. At that time, Wu-Tang was coming out of Staten Island, the same how Biggie was coming out of Brooklyn, the same
Right.
how
mhm,
Nas was coming out of Queens. So all of these made those dudes that I was saying really wanted to be the face of their borough. So when
mhm,
you have Wu-Tang Clan, they made it a lot more difficult for Staten Island because you have 9 members who came in as a group, and then they broke off and went solo to have solo careers. And all the while, they blocked individuals such as myself who might have had a solo career, but due to the fact I wasn't down with the clan, they made it harder for myself, the Shaheems, the King Justice, or anybody thereafter. And they might have even gave out some bait like, yo, let me mess with you, let me hear your demo. But it would just have been to stagnate you. People that been
mhm,
in the music industry, sometimes you get signed and you think you're off to the races, but in all actuality, you're just a tax write-off to that company. So
mhm,
and back then, like I said, the Wu, they had to maintain a supremacy over Staten Island. So
mhm,
they didn't want anybody to affect that might have been at any high caliber or to challenge their regime. So it was better to muffle that. And unfortunately, like you said, it hurt the city because as much as Wu-Tang is a gift for Staten Island, it's a curse because, like I said, they helped muffle a lot of talent that could have been, like I said, they're just from one district, the 10304. You have New Brighton, you have West Brighton, you have Manus Harbor, you have Stapleton where I'm from. So there's other places that it would have been wise for them to help other people get on, just to help to build the economy on their
mhm,
island, on Staten Island. When you look at the other boroughs, you look at Queens, man. You just don't look at Queens and say, well, that's LL, or
Right.
that's Run DMC, or that's
mhm,
Nas, or that's
Right.
just 50, or that's just, there's so many of them, you
Yeah.
know? And it's just like, that the brotherhood, that they respect each other's craft. It's not about stepping on anybody's toes. You ask somebody about the other one, it's like, nah, that's my brother. He's great at doing what he does. That wasn't extended on Staten Island, and I think that was a crime because it affected hip hop in a tremendous way.
Yeah. It's like Biggie. He brought in Junior Mafia, Lil Cam, stuff like that.
Well, you figure Wu Tang brought in Killer Army and Sons of Men. I mean, things of that nature. But those happen to be like their little brother and the
Yeah.
cousin,
Yeah.
some other.
mhm,
But to say that Wu Tang started in Stapleton, and I'm from Stapleton, and we came out with GPWU, so to never
mhm,
been invited on tour, or never to have, to never have the brothers want to acknowledge that, to want to suffocate our movement, our sound, our everything, just to be, selfish with it. Like I said, you got to go back to what I said when they was just doing
mhm,
protect your neck, and when they was just doing, hey, you get off Method Man or whatever. They weren't
mhm,
destined for that. But when they was going to these parties and these clubs and these events with 200 people deep going, shoo, that grabbed everybody's attention. You had no other choice but to pay, and and it was the whole movement and the ambiance and the thoroughness of coming through 150, 200 deep. That wasn't really seen in hip hop. It was a movement of a borough.
I see.
Has it affected Staten Island's ability now to kind of trust a process and even work together at this point?
I
You
would think
smart, man. I don't. You
think
know,
so.
that but right there, she's like that. Right there, we talking the wisdom right there. You know,
Yeah,
because that's what it is with Staten Island. Staten Island has a gang of different talent from all over. You know, when you have these sections or whatever the case may be, they do suffer from the Wu syndrome. You know, because they
Mhm.
do remember the time when they band together and helped a group that was relatively unknown, and not to say, not to say that the Wu isn't gifted lyrically, but like I said, when you create a movement, it's
right,
much bigger than just, you feel me? And when you coming from out of Staten Island and people put their trust in you, because
Mhm.
brothers felt like, yo, I got talent too. Like, yo, we're gonna help you get here, and you're gonna turn around. The play didn't necessarily have to come from you. Once you go to the next level, you start meeting different individuals. You could have met in somebody, like, yo, deal with my brother. Yo, I'm gonna give you his number. Yo, Brown Hornet, I got you. I can't do nothing with you. I got my loyalty to the W, but homie's gonna do you right. It's a lot of things that could have been done.
right,
And like I
right.
said, they got selfish with the connects, and I think my borough suffers to this day behind it.
Mhm.
It suffers tremendously because, like I said, as great as the Wu Tang is, they never passed the torch. They never groomed any of the artists to come underneath them. And so when the radio says, "Let me play a song from Staten Island," and it's only Wu Tang, it's an unjust to our borough for that to happen.
It hurts.
Just hypothetically, you say, yo, here's a song, we're gonna play Brooklyn all day, and all you hear is Jay-Z. I mean, no
Right.
Fab, no Fabulous, no Little Kim, no Biggie,
Yeah.
no, like it does it an unjust, not to,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Master P got right, because when he got on, he brought New
He brought
Orleans on.
everybody. Yeah, he brought
You
everybody
know
up.
what I mean? even
Yeah,
if you wasn't the best rapper in the world, he
yeah.
found a way to get you
He
the
sure
bag.
did.
You
He
know.
sure did. Hey, but he's great at business though, Master P. Like he's been doing it for a long time.
Well,
You know, it's
they,
kind of like Dr.
definitely so.
Dre.
I felt like, and not to cut you guys' bill, but just to add on to what you're saying,
Uh-huh.
the Wu Tang came out the same time as your Jermaine Dupri's and things of that nature.
Right,
And you see how Jermaine Dupri, just by the music, helped change the landscape and the thought process on how you look at Atlanta. I remember
right,
when
Mhm.
I was a kid, I was scared to go to Atlanta because there was bodies being dropped. There was a mass murderer out there in Atlanta back in the '80s,
Mhm.
and so going to Atlanta wasn't the place to be. But Jermaine Dupri, with the help of others, but he was the main catalyst. He helped put on for his city. He wasn't selfish with it. And then them
Yeah.
brothers started doing. They was doing music that everybody started going, and Atlanta became the place to go, to get on
yeah,
because how. And I felt like Wu Tang and RZA and RNS and all of us, we had that same power. Brothers was gonna come across that ferry boat. They was going to Wu Where to get clothes. They would have been coming to our studios. We'd have been doing music. It's supposed to be lovely out here. Like I said, unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
it could have been a beautiful thing. A lot of
Yeah.
shops opened up, a lot of tourism, a lot of
A lot
stuff.
of diversity. That's how you build
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
economy. That's how you build the economy for your city. You don't get
Right.
Mhm.
selfish with it. You branch out. There could have been GP fans, U fans, Shaheen fans. You know, the list goes on and on, man. There's a
Right.
lot of talent that's out here right now. Staten Island, it's kind of like a volcano that wants to erupt. There's a lot of talent out here that's been suffocated for 25 years and hasn't been able to prosper. So I think once the dam is broken, you might see an onslaught really from Staten Island and the talent that it has.
That'll be nice too.
So how do you get to that point where you break that dam?
It's just, It's just. Listen, you know what? It was funny because like I came back on my comeback trail, and nobody was saying Pop the Brown at maybe 5 years ago, whatever the case may be. I was a thought of the past. But then social media came, and the way the dynamics of the music business, the dynamics of how we doing interviews right now. Back in the days, the label controlled everything. Your interview, your this, that, and the third. To where now, we were dealing with a era of information. It's all about us building, and the people want to know the story now. So
Yeah.
being part of, when I say GP the grain, when we said that back in the days, it was for a meaning, because we was part of, you can't talk about the tree if you don't first water the roots.
Right. Right. That was a
Even if you don't plant the seed.
Wasn't that song? That track wasn't. Go ahead.
I said, even if you don't plant the seed.
Even if you didn't plant the seed, but see, those that don't plant, hypothetically, right? We plant the seed, we see the roots and all of that, and then sometimes, you have people that take things for granted. You might have a grandkid and they don't, it get passed on to them, but they didn't know the work that was put in, and they just pick off the tree and think, they take what's supposed to be there without you even nourishing in it. So I don't think Staten Island has the proper nourishment. And I just think that, me being in the forefront and knowing the history is just a breath of fresh air. My music and what I do, it's not fatty. I'm not trying to do what everybody's doing right now. I'm kind of keeping it traditional to the classic traditional hip hop format. Because I do believe things are going to come. Things are going to come.
Because what's going on right now? Yeah, we need that traditional hip hop. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'd rather call it, because once you start labeling it this, that, and the third, people think they have a right to put you in a certain category. And I believe that this music was put here for us to vibe off of for a very long time. There's a lot of people that want to alter it, to redirect it, and throw all kinds of things in it to water it down. But Brown Hornet, I'm gonna be like a black cup of coffee.
Yeah, what I enjoy, especially with your newer singles, is that call back to rock, and using kind of a rock feel in your music, which I love, because it's been it kind of, I remember those kind of tracks, and it brought me so much joy to hear that in your music even now.
Right.
Was that purposefully, or
but now when you say rock, are you talking about
just that guitar and that
the
beat?
horns?
I'm thinking like King, like Run DMC, Walk This Way type of rock. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about.
Like what? Like what kind?
Well, I'm trying to tell you.
I'm trying to get it, girl.
That feel, the guitars, that hard.
So I'm not saying she's not saying rock and roll. She's just really saying like funk. It got that
hard.
That's what I would call it, funk.
That you want to move to.
Right.
That's what I mean by rock.
Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
But it is more funky. It's more along the lines of funky than it is. But I understand, how she feels, and maybe she rocks to it or whatever. She, it keeps that head rocking, and it keeps that.
She likes all kinds of genres of music, and she loves rock too, and all that. And her.
But that guitar is just it's that hard hitting. It just felt hard to me.
So
like
what I mean?
Is it like remember Tragedy, Gaddafi's album, that track Acid, that Hidden Files album, the first track, Acid, he had on it that had that guitar.
Yeah, but
See, that for me is like rock, though. Like
this is different. Stapleton Fly was different. I heard that. I was in the house. I left out the house and went to my car because I wanted to hear it in the car.
Yeah, I do that too. I did that with the 38 Speech album last night.
Yes, Stapleton Fly is
With that
incredibly dope.
That first
So that's that rock. That's that rock and roll feel. See right there. That lead off is like.
It's like I get it.
I understand where she's coming from.
I'm surprised you didn't start cleaning and dancing, girl. Like you just
when I heard that, I wanted to hear it in the car. I wanted all the speakers around. You know, I'm from the South. So when I get in my car, it hit different.
Yeah.
She was cranking it up. She cranked it up in the car. Like she wanted to feel the different sides, the speakers moving around, you know.
I wanted to hear the windows rattling at my neighbor's house. Yeah.
See, for me, in my car, it's bass is what I like. I got the bass knob, all that stuff, because you know, in the West Coast we bump the bass more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole different. It's a whole different feel.
I want to try it in the car.
Yeah, it's a whole different feel in the car because you know a song is good when you get out your car and your shoulders square up a little bit more and you get your swag on.
Yeah. You don't swag in the car though. Like when you're driving, you're not swagging in the car.
No, because it's when you get it, it's different in the car. Because my windows is tinted, can't nobody see me in the car.
She said, "But when she get out though, she throw that little lean on. She throw that, man.
Take a little low when you walk, you know, you get that little bounce in your step. Yeah. So with Stapleton Fly, because I know it's a lot of people who don't know what Stapleton Fly is. Can you give give him a little idea of how that record came to fruition?
So shout out, like I said, shout out to Staten Island, shout out to Manasauba, West Brighton, New Brighton, Paul Kill, and all the other. I'm from Stapleton, baby. So when I was growing up, there was nothing fly than Stapleton. I mean, I grew up underneath the Parish crew. You know, those brothers was wearing nylons, the nylon shirt with the matching Kangos. They had the jean with the permanent creases in them. You know, the Levi's, the Wrangler jeans with, the Adidas going up to the Gucci or the Benetton, the leather fronts, the leather suede fronts, you know what I mean, with the fronts. I mean, Stapleton was like, back in the days, I would say I like to call it the capital of Staten Island, but Stapleton was like, it was like, maybe I would say Brooklyn or Uptown. It was in the 80s, it was the place that you didn't really, to have the outsiders, you really couldn't come without really getting flipped on. You would fight amongst each other. But we all, it always was, and every project, believe me, you're gonna find somebody that's dusty and ain't up to par. But the players of the hood always knew they had to come out fly. You know what I mean? So the Stapleton flyness is something that was passed on from generation to generation. It came before me with the brothers with the British Nikes and you know what I mean? And that's why you see Ghostface, he came with the Wallaby Clarks and they died in two different ways. This is all Stapleton, that's a Stapleton creation. So it's in our design, you see Mac Wiles, you see Shaheem, you might see Trife the God, you see, so we have to stay fly. So I just wanted to say, you know what, I see all my Stapleton and the ones yet to come, plus myself still doing it, let me set the record straight, because when you think of Staten Island, sometimes it doesn't really have an identity. It's the forgotten borough. You know what I mean? But one of the first projects that's always mentioned when you say, yo, where you from? Staten Island. Oh, you from Stapleton? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because we put that work in back in the days, and it still radiates till today. So even for the brothers that have passed that, putting that work to the present day, I'm keeping it Stapleton Fly like it's always been.
So when did that album come out? Like in 2018, around there, or
I
am I
want to say, I want to say maybe 2019. It came out right before it came out. It came out right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic shut it down. But even when I was doing the album with Phantom, I said, "Yo, check this out, Phantom. This is an independent album. You know what I mean? It's just like the industry." I said, "There ain't nobody really paying attention to us. I'm on my comeback trail. I'm gonna be able to work this album for a little minute, like they used to do back in the days. I mean, just think about Master P before was really heard. That was like 4 years old.
right?
Yeah,
That song was 4
yeah.
years old.
Yeah, it was an older track. There's, in
That's
fact, a lot of people's first track albums have a lot of older tracks on there. People don't realize that they're older tracks.
There you go. So there I have it. All I did was really work the industry, how the industry was really worked. So there's really nothing new that's under the sun. But due to the fact that I have a foundation of being in the industry, like I said, shout out to Phantom of the Beat who did the majority of the production, UMC's, Haj T. But yeah, um, I was just saying that we're going to be able to work this for a little minute. And though the fact that COVID was a gift and a curse, nobody was really trying to listen to music during COVID. Everybody was fighting for their life and feeling for their loved ones and all of that. So I think people are putting out music to this day that still doesn't match my album. So it just helped me work
Yeah.
and single by single. I was able to grab another fan, another fan, another fan. You know
feel
what I
like
mean?
an asshole though, because during the pandemic, that's all I was doing was listening to music. Because I got OCD, so I was already washing my hands, staying home, stuff like that, working. I would just always go to work, come back, and music is what gets me going in the morning, before work, after work, days off, clean the house. I'm always so, yeah.
Yeah, music saved me during the pandemic
Me too.
because I'm a nurse. And
Yeah.
so I kind of had to
Shit.
isolate myself from even my family
Right.
because
Right.
I was working with COVID patients. So I didn't want to, get anybody else sick. So I was kind of by myself a lot, you know. So music is what
It's
what
therapy.
really pushed me through and kind of kept me sane.
It's like
Uh,
the versus battles. That when that started, that
when
helped too.
when you when you think back, because you've been in this business for 25 plus years, when you think of from where you started to now, what are what has been some of the major changes that has happened between then and now that makes this push different than from when you started?
I think it's definitely just more hands on with 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 the fans, with the media. You know, the
Mhm.
fans. Now that we have social media and things of that nature, that was extinct. That wasn't even in the. That wasn't. I mean, I'm sure it was a thought being processed, but it wasn't there at that present time. So you put out music and you check the Gavin report or you check college radio and you did certain things of that nature to really get the feedback of what and that took weeks to come back to. So and then it went through something that the label might want to set you up with or might not want to set you up with or your manager. So a lot of things on social media now is if you have your finger on the pulse of things, you could slip one in there, and I think that's what this is about right now. Having a history in it gives me room and space to really come back. Now that the way it's set up, it may be difficult in certain aspects, but I think that if you're lyrically gifted, such as myself, like I said, I'm not a follower of the trend. I'm definitely trying to stand out instead of really fit into what everybody's doing. I want to take it back to the artistry. So I feel like I do have something to bring to the game that's different. Or if I didn't, I don't think I would be doing it. And so that's really what motivates me for the present day. And I think that I have a crowd now with being able to talk and do interviews like this, that I can create a fan base, a solid fan base that it build off the same fan base that I already have. When I did get social media, because I didn't have social media until I really started my comeback trail with the music. I found it really glorifying because there was a lot of fans that was coming from Germany, Brazil. They was just touching in on with me, London and all kinds of Canada. Yo, that black on black crime back in the days, Joe Brown Hornet. That was I was and I didn't really, I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't really know about that I had really existing fans like that. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you said, just to do the music now, knowing that the existing fans are there, and there's more fans to come. Just it's exciting just to say, like, I'm able to really, now that the smoke is cleared, I can build on who I am. I don't really have to be associated with this, that, and the third. I'm not doing it for a group. I'm not doing it for a project. I'm not doing, I'm always doing it for the projects, the people, the borough, but mainly foremost, I came back for me to build on to the legacy.
So, do you think social media helps in this essence? Because I was late to social media too. I didn't get on social media till 2019 because I was like,
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Like I said, I'm a Johnny come lately as well. I think it helped in certain aspects for certain people, especially for the less talented. Because the less talented were able to get up here and grab a fan base.
Right.
If I was to make you able to make you laugh, this, that, and the third, more clicks, boom, boom, boom. And then if you're able to turn that into prosperity, I mean, what's better than that? That's the American way. I can't knock you for that. But it also will put the fire underneath a real artist such as myself. I'm looking at it like, oh, this one could do it. All right, so let me get back to homework. Let me get back to the thing that I love to do. For the years out, like I said, I took a long hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
So I live in New York. I work 731, so I'm a laborer. 731 is a union. So shout out to all my union workers around the states or what have you. So yeah, that's what I was doing to pay the bills. So hip hop always stayed in the system. I was always writing songs. So I invested into myself.
All right.
That's dope.
I didn't know you had social media. I'm gonna have to look you up so I can follow you. Um, you know, because I've listened to your albums, like, Straighten It Out, and I listened to your older stuff, and so I prefer unsigned underground artists as opposed to mainstream artists. So
Right,
I'm always looking for artists to listen to, but I've been listening to you for a minute already.
right. I
I, I
appreciate that.
always, I always think that you always find the roots and the real when you're not listening to the what the mainstream is pushing. So I've learned that since 2016, after I gave up on the radio like 2010 and just started listening to the oldies, you know what I mean? And
Right,
then I my daughter, who was just turning into her teenage years, kind of pushed me into, Mom, there is artists, you just have to look for them. And so she taught me how to find what I wanted. And I
Cool.
think that was the beauty of social media, is that it gave me back that hip hop that I love. And it was not necessarily just the old school hip hop. It was new artists that were building and doing new things. And I think that's so important in order to keep the culture moving forward. is to push those voices, especially for our heroes that's been around for years that are still putting out dope music but are being muffled.
Right, right. Like for me, it connected me with artists that I've always like loved. Like, gave me friendships with some of them and then connected me with some of the younger unsigned artists like Numbs, Vera Styles, artists like that, and with people like connected me with you, Sean, and others, so I gotta give. So I
So
was really against it, man, but I gotta give it a shout out. I kind of like you know.
so at this point in your career and just in your life, who were the people that added to the formula to make you who you are today? The
Right.
top, let's say the top three that got you that added to your formula.
Well, the top three will probably one that would have to be my Uncle Will, rest in peace. He was very musically inclined.
All right.
And he used to listen to all kind of music and play all kind of instruments. So from the violin to the piano and stuff.
Wow.
My mother definitely second because she used to buy all them damn albums from Diana Summers, Diana Ross, Teddy Pendergrass,
BG, stuff like
Marvin Gaye, yeah, Michael Jackson, and like and then thirdly, I would have to say probably R and S because without R, I probably wouldn't really know how to put a lot of songs and things together. So in my early stages of crafting my style, we played a very intricate part. So those three right there, my uncle, my mom's, and R and S.
Okay, I have a question. Okay, so besides you, because a lot of artists don't include themselves in this, right? But I kind of feel like you would. And that's not a bad thing. I think they should. I think they should really think high of themselves as far as artistry goes. Um, your top 5 artists, who are you listening to? If you know what I mean, when you're not making music, who do you listen to in hip hop?
That was a good one. Um, I don't think I really listen to 5 artists in hip hop.
Okay, well, whoever you do, let's see.
Okay, so but I would definitely say, I'll probably have to listen to the Locks, Jadakiss. I'll probably listen to Fabulous, Jadakiss, Fabulous. Yeah,
You don't listen to OT the Real, Benny the Butcher,
yeah.
RJ.
I mean, I do listen to them, but they're not on heavy rotation. But the
Rotation.
Gazelle, like Gazelle and them, I know they're really, really coming to the forefront of who they are, and so I do appreciate them because they do remind me of throwback hip hop. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I probably just haven't heard enough of them, but I wouldn't be against listening to them. I know they're on, to come up in like a new regime. I don't, I'm not mad at Fabio. Is he's like kind of drill, the king of drill or whatever. So I hear him on the radio. I'm not mad at them per se. I just don't, like I said, listen to them. They don't. I'm not. They do creatively in different areas, but
The
I'd
Locks
have
is
to say, really right now I'm in instrumental mode. I don't really listen to too many. Me being an artist of my, I don't really listen to too many artists too tough. I listen to the radio and what it might have to say, and then I always have family members that have their own favorite artists, underground artists. So I always, I listen to everything, but I'm not really in tune to be like, I gotta hear XYZ. Nah.
and that's
So
what I wanted to know, because I wanted to know if you were instrumental listening. Because if you're listening to instrumentals, you're still sharpening your sword even if it don't need it. You know what I mean? Because you're listening to them and you're going in your head, right? And thinking yeah.
Yeah, I listen to instrumental. Like right now, I've just been in instru. What was you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you which producers are you listening, their instrumentals are you listening to? Because I love Eloquent. Eloquent, it makes some dope instrumentals. So I was just wondering who are some of the instrumental artists that you're listening to right now.
Now I'm keeping it hip hop. Really, I'm not. I'm in writing mode. We going to the fourth quarter, so the first quarter I gotta come correct. I gotta put a lot of thoughts and stuff in that in nature. So I'm listening to Mobb Deep instrumentals, Nas instrumentals, Coogee rap instrumentals. I got some funky instrumentals I can't even tell you because I don't want nobody listening. But I
Okay.
got some. I'm listening to stuff that I'm writing from. I just wanna, like I said, be able to, even if I write it. So if a producer, might give me some up tempo stuff right now, I'm still gonna have that Coogee rap or that Nas, or I'm listening to Supremo or some Large Professor. That's where I'm at with it.
I was just
Oh, okay.
watching Money on the Brain by Coogee Rap the other
hmm
like this morning. Yeah, I love that track. Yeah.
The road to the riches is boom, boom, boom. I can sit, I can
Yeah.
listen, I can write like I've been writing mode. I had to
Rich is
switch to the
fire.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's certain, like I said, there's certain ones that I could sit and I could write, and then I'll turn on some of my old instrumentals, Son of
Right.
a Chill. I'll write songs to my old songs just to see if I could outdo myself, like on that song, like you know what I mean?
Real MC shit. Basically, you just
So, when you're writing, where do you find your inspiration? Is it in the music, or are you one of those people who are just walking around and see something like I have to talk about that? What is your process?
or your life, part of your life that you're rapping about.
Yeah, it's like I'm really I'm really big on I'm really big on, like you said, everyday life. I could walk around and just, I could be in different parts of New York and suck up the elements. I'm definitely big on current events. That really what thrives me. Um, just how the world is turning and how information is being given to us, especially in these last 2 years, and you know, just that the eating right,
Mhm.
everything that was told to us, we have to really reprogram ourselves and
Right.
reevaluate a lot of things and not just take it for hindsight like the truth is being told to us. So me as an artist, I didn't really want to jump out there too soon after the pandemic and be this, that, and the third and do boom, boom, boom. Really wanted to have a clear view,
Yeah.
and as things are turning now, they want to get the digital currency going and the new world. It's so many things that's right there in front of us, and we're living in this time.
Yeah, we are.
So I want to be an artist that's not just talking about pop a pill, this boom, 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 and keep us all focused. And I ain't gonna go crazy. I ain't gonna be public enemy number 1 with it too. Like, but I do
I love
want to add,
concert shit though.
yeah,
Like that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Um, when I make an album, like I said, when you listen to a great album, I don't want to just be one track. I don't want you to listen to my album and felt like you just listened to one long track. I am an artist that likes to dealing with diversity. So it could be some chick stuff, it could be some party stuff, it's going to be some food for thought, there might be some slick, pimp talking stuff. It's
Yeah.
going to be a mix. It'll be a mixture of things. But I
So
think that hip hop is getting into just real quick. I want to get on Foreman Mandela. The reason why my album was called Foreman Mandela is because I took George Foreman and Nelson Mandela's last names. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And made it Foreman. I made it Foreman Mandela.
I
So
like
George.
that hoodie you had on the cover too.
Oh yeah,
That
that
hoodie
G.
you had on that cover. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. It
Thank
said
you, thank you. That
GPU,
that
right?
that that's
Mhm.
definitely. So I took the Foreman. I took the Foreman part from George Foreman. Um, you know, he lost the belt. It took him 7 years, to get the belt back. It took him 17 years, rather should I say, because after Ali knocked him out, he retired for 10 years, and it took him 7 more years after that to get it. So he didn't let time defeat him. He came back and he got what what he was destined for, that championship belt back. Same with Mandela, locked up for over 27 years. He came out, still became the president of parts of Africa, Nobel Peace Prize. So he didn't let the time defeat him. He came out and he stayed the course. So Foreman Mandela, I kind of felt I embodied that because it was like 17 years since I dropped my last solo album, and I didn't let time defeat me. Though the game has changed and MCs rhyme differently, I still was like, you know what, I'm gonna put my best foot forward and come out with a project. So I named it Foreman Mandela.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since you're back, since you've come back, where do you see yourself now in 5 years?
Yeah. And that's a question of the unknown. I didn't see myself right where I'm at 5 years ago. And I just think that with the work that you put in, like, you asked the question, what's it going to take? To bust through or be noticed, or where do you see yourself in 5 years? If I think I continue to put out another solid project like the one that I put out, because Foreman Mandela, like I was telling my comrade when I put it together, this is just like a comeback. Anybody who's making a comeback, Foreman Mandela, they didn't come out the gate and fight for the heavyweight belt. He didn't come out the gate and was just anointed to the president. They still had to take steps. I had to train. George Foreman had to train to get himself. Me, I'm knocking off the cobwebs. I'm knocking off the old. I'm getting my pens, sharp. And with each song moving forward, I just think I'm getting better and better, because the mind is the last thing to go. And still looking good, feeling good. So if the people keep, like I said, keep wanting to be heard and do these interviews, it's just a matter of time before I give them something that hopefully like the mainstream can't ignore.
All right. So when's your next one dropping? I'm sorry, SB. I just want to know, when's your next project dropping?
It's gonna be next year, God willing.
Okay.
I'm slated to do a couple of maybe features with a couple of comrades before the year's out, but I don't want to give anything new. If it is, it's gonna be definitely at the tail end, like December. You'll hear a single and let it ride out for the 3 months, and then you'll hear the album thereafter.
I'm just asking because we do album reviews. That way we can review it on here and check it out.
Right.
So for people who are just getting to know you, where would you, as the artist, suggest that they start?
What, your social media?
When they're going through your discography, where would you suggest that they start?
Like, would you tell them to go to the very beginning? Can you woo woo woo, or would you tell them to start off later in life?
Where you're at now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, because there's so many different type of hip hop heads.
See, like
but
me,
I
would all the way to the beginning and going through, because then I feel like I get to know the artists more and how they changed, where they grew, as far as music wise. But people have short attention spans nowadays, so
Right. Yeah. So I have so many songs that I love, but just for a person that knows nothing about pop, the Brown Hornet, I would tell them to listen to the song Sun Never Chills. And then you take it from me, go forward or backwards from there. But Sun Never Chills is more of it's just this, it's just such an energetic song. And I feel like that I was very aggressive the way I wanted to be in hip hop, just to be a threat with the voice and just the energy and the presence.
Yeah,
so
that's my kind of shit right there. I like the aggressive stuff like that.
Right. I mean, you can listen to the stuff now that I'm putting out as well. I just know I would want them to go to Sun Never Chill, because then when you listen to what I'm doing now, you would say, what, this brother isn't too far from where he was at, if you want to say at the peak, or when he was, on MCA, whatever the case may be. Now he stayed the course, and he fine-tuned himself, and he's, some things get better. Some things age like fine wine. Some things break down. If you out there building the mind, body, and soul. If you're in tune with the universe and if you woke, you know what I mean? So hopefully to know better is to do better. So I know a little bit better than a lot of these other individuals. So hopefully I do better. Hopefully in 5 years I'll be a household name. And I have some merchandise being sold, and maybe I'll be I could tutelage some up and coming artists coming from up at Staten out of Staten Island, and be a part of their development.
So, let me ask you, in this time of age and in where we're at now, everything's about mental health, mind, right? Being enlightened, third eye being open, taking care of your body. What do you do to keep your mental, physical, and spiritual sharp?
I have to say, like, I mean, to really be honest with you, to take some walks. Like I said, the pad and the pen has always been my best friend since I've been a young individual. And I think that has been a very heavy stress reliever because with music, I tap into different
Emotions of your
different aliases. So I could be Pop the Brown Hornet, I could be Pop the Brown Bomber, I could be Bomber Fire. And all of those different individuals may be different emotions and feelings. If you feeling angry or something like that, or you feeling happy, whatever emotion, I could definitely grab up a pen and a pad and vibe and write off of it. So I mean, but definitely I've been more conscious of what I've been eating. I've been more conscious of, taking magnesium and taking sea moss and things of that nature. Definitely been more conscious of my red meat intake and things, so how to flush the system and all of that. Yeah. So
I'm on magnesium too.
So,
The cramps are killing me.
so who do you want to shout out and tell the people where they can find you, your social medias, and what you got coming up, how to get in touch with
yeah, so you can follow me on TikTok, Pop the Brown Hornet, and you can follow me on Instagram, Pop the Brown Hornet _10304. That's
Okay.
Pop the Brown Hornet _10304 on Instagram.
You
Facebook is Pop the Brown Hornet. And like I said, really right now, I'm just pushing those two singles, Mike Champ, Stapleton Fly. I won't be doing any album until next year dropping. Hopefully I have some shows coming up. I got my merchandise, Staten Fly. So if you go to I'll probably be putting up a link shortly, hopefully within the next week. But like I said, you could go to Pop the Brown Hornet _10304. You'll see some of the merchandise and Staten Fly to any of the followers or whatever the case may be. Chop it up with me. I'll mail you some pieces. I wouldn't mind.
all right. So on your Instagram is where we could find like the merch.
Well, for right now, I do showcase so many things, but for right now on Pop the Brown Hornet _10304, I do put some of the merch that I have up there. Staten Fly came with some new
I see
pieces.
it.
I got some female crop hoodies. Yeah,
There. All
right.
right.
So yeah, I'm starting off with that with some merchandise. Hopefully, like I said, by next week I'll be putting some links up on my social medias, and I'll be putting that into effect while I work on this music, and hopefully 2023 and the end of 2022, I'll be having some new music out there for you guys to review.
All right then. Thank you so much for coming on. We truly appreciate it. This is our first show under the name The Formula, and this was such a dope way to start it. This has been a pleasure. I hope you come back anytime you want to. You want to promote, you are more than welcome. And we are here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Pop the Brown Hornet, Foreman Mandela, streaming everywhere. Follow me on social media out of Stapleton, Staten Island, 10304. Bumble fire!
All right, guys. Peace, love, respect, all that good shit. You know how it goes.
I want to thank everybody for watching the formula. There comes a time when some things last for a lifetime, but often some things last for a season. I
Right.
hope that you will enjoy what we're bringing. We're going to keep putting out quality and dope content. Follow, like, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.
Yes. Peace.